Welcome back for part 2 of our campaign finance lecture. Just a reminder, just kind of a refresher, we ended on the Buckley v. Vallejo Supreme Court case in which the Supreme Court ruled that money is speech and that it is unconstitutional to limit how much money an individual candidate can give to their own campaign. Fast forward to the year 2002, in which Congress decides they need to address two issues that are causing concern. One is that soft money to the national party, and they are noticing that the political parties are getting a lot of donations from some sources that they shouldn't be. Corporations, unions, interest groups. Okay, so they aren't supposed to. So this Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act is going to address it, and also going to address the issue of issue advocacy. So this law, the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, gets nicknamed the McCain Feingold because those are the names of the two congressional individual senators that authored this bill. McCain in this case is John McCain. Now, in this law, we are going to prohibit soft money. We are going to say, nope, you cannot donate unlimited amounts of money to the political parties. Okay, they're going to put a limit, make it hard money. Okay, and then they're going to regulate electioneering communication. That's ads, essentially, is what we're talking about. Is the ads that political action committees, might put out, the political party might be out, that are issue advocacy. Okay, so we talked about issue advocacy last time, and it's about an issue. Candidate campaign ads always are like for and against statements. Vote for, vote against, support, don't support, those sorts of things. But what they're addressing is when can issue advocacy ads be placed on the air or released into the public, because we now are in the age of the internet. And so they established that you cannot put out new issue advocacy ads 30 days before a primary election and 60 days before a general election. And it also required that you put a stand by your message, statement. In the case of this, I gave you an example of I'm Blev Nation and I approve this message. But this established also like 7 phrases that, if they're used in an ad, become expressed advocacy. So vote for, vote against, support, don't support, those type of statements. There are 7 of them. So a lot of times, Congress thinks they've kind of solved the issue. Now, in terms of this, so they've closed the loophole of giving unlimited amounts of money to the political parties. But now they've kind of laid out clearer rules on how issue advocacy can occur. And so because of that, Congress then kind of changes the code a little bit, and that money that was going to political parties, and before that it was going to the candidates, that money's going to go somewhere. People want that money. Like, they're going to want to spend it. They want to spend it. They want to try to influence elections. So now they're going to start donating it to what are known as 501c4s. They are non-profit organizations. So 501c4 is an IRS organization. So the political action committees report to the FEC, and that is an independent regulatory agency, completely different. But a 501c4 is IRS, and you have to report information to the IRS. Now, this is going to be an interest group. So 501c4s are interest groups for issue advocacy, but only 50% of the money that gets donated to them can be used for issue advocacy. Okay, but if I'm very wealthy and I donate $10 million to a nonprofit issue advocacy group, they get to use $5 million for like electioneering. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of advertisements. Okay. Now, the enticing part of a 501c4 is that there's no public donors. And when we do not know who donates the money, that is referred to as dark money. We don't know who donated that money. Okay. Now, here's the deal you need to understand when we talk about a 501c4 and the IRS. Everyone reports their taxes once a year. So for citizens, that's in April. For businesses, it could be in July, it could be in October, maybe November, it could be January. It gets some point in the year they have to report their taxes to the IRS. And then the IRS gets it, and then the IRS would publish that information. But if I donate to a corporation in January of 2024, that won't get reported to the IRS until sometime in 2025 or late 2024. Okay, say, they have to report taxes in November, right? The 501c sends them the information to the IRS in November. It won't get published until sometime in 2025. So if I've donated a lot of money to influence the election somehow through advertisements, no one's going to know I did that as a corporation until 2025. And that is if the money becomes publicly knowledgeable, and it may not. And that's the enticing part versus the FEC. The FEC, you have to report every 3 months. And then they publish within like a week of getting that, of the closing date of the period of the quarter for the year. Okay, so everyone's going to find out real quick if I donate to a political action committee. People are going to take, if they even look at the IRS and what I donated to in a year after I donated, pretty much. Okay, I hope that makes sense on why 501c4s are enticing, even though only half the money can go towards electioneering. Okay, now another thing that was created by this Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act was, yes, they started using, individuals, corporations were using 501c4s to do some electioneering, but the government, they actually created 527 organizations. 527 organizations are another IRS tax code number, and this is actual political groups, and they can use 100% of their donations, 100% for electioneering, for campaigns, for issue advocacy in a campaign. Okay, they are independent expenditures, but it's issue advocacy. Now the thing is, they do have to publicly disclose their donors, but again, it's going to the IRS. So again, if I donate to a 527 organization, I'm going to donate it in January. It may get reported in July, and it won't become public knowledge because the IRS is going to have to process that tax information, that tax return, the tax documents. They're going to have to, they're going to, they have to process that, and it's going to be a couple months after. So even if the fiscal year ends for the 527 in July, it'll still be months. And then people will have to go look for that information. Okay, it's enticing if you want to try to influence the election without people truly knowing your organization is doing it. Okay, now the creation of 527s led to a court case called Citizens United versus the FEC. FEC, Federal Election Commission, right? That was established way back in the 1970s. Citizens United dealt with a 527 organization who put out a movie called Hillary, the movie, in 2008, if I can speak. In the primary. It wasn't the general election because Hillary Clinton didn't make it to the general election in 2008. So It's the primary, and this is a required case, so we will be talking about it, but just know that it deals with a 527 and the limits that are placed on that McCain Feingold established in when issue advocacy ads can be released or put on the internet or on TV. Okay, that's 30 days for primaries and the 60 days for the general election. Okay, but again, in Citizens United, the Supreme Court reiterates and supports the idea that money is speech. And they say it's unconstitutional to ban on independent expenditures of corporations and unions. Now, mind you, we haven't necessarily had a ban on corporation donations and union donations to, like a 527 organization. And they still can't donate directly to a candidate because that does get too close to potentially a bribe. But you cannot limit when they do their expenditures. They're electioneering. You can't say, you can't do this 30 days before an election or 60 days before an election. That is a violation of the corporation and the union's freedom of speech. Now, I need you to understand that the Supreme Court never actually said corporations have freedom of speech, have First Amendment rights. When everyone thinks it does, because a lot of the cases that do establish the corporations, they reference that Santa Clara case, and that is not what happened in Santa Clara. The court is misinterpreting and essentially misreading the decision from the Santa Clara case. Okay. So we will talk about Citizens United in depth. We'll get the facts and all of that, so you know how to apply it in a case. Now, this leads to the creation of what are known as super PACs. Now, super PACs is the FEC's response to Citizens United and a way to try to control the money. So they establish what are known as super PACs. They allow unlimited independent expenditures. You can donate as much money as you want to a super PAC. Okay, for electioneering communication, so for issue advocacy. But the deal with a super PAC is that you cannot directly coordinate with a candidate. A political action committee, a PAC, can. And oftentimes there will be a PAC or two or multiple that are attached to the candidate's campaign, and they're in constant communication. A super PAC cannot be. Okay, they have to be cannot communicate. Now, here's the thing. Can the director of that super PAC be a previous employee of the candidate's campaign? Yes. Does it happen with frequency? Yes. Can the candidate be speaking to the media and be like, man, if only there was an ad about insert issue here, and the super PAC makes that ad? Yep, it can. Okay, so there's ways around it. Again, there are loopholes here. Now, super PACs have to be registered with the FEC. Super PACs have to have to publicly disclose donors as well. They have to follow the same rules because they're just a super PAC. But the big thing is a super PAC is not directly coordinating with a candidate. They have to strictly be issue advocacies, but they can tie it positively or negatively to a candidate as long as they don't say any of those seven phrases that show support or against a candidate. All right, so this wraps up your second part of your campaign finance. If you have any questions, let me know. And once again, don't do anything too stupid. Bye, guys.